One of the biggest topics of conversation every NFL season is who is going to win the NFL MVP award. And so in today's video, I want to talk about the top 10 most likely MVPs and how I feel about their betting odds on betting sites. But before we get to the video, I want to take a second to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. Really helps us out. If you're a fan of the NFL, you'll love this channel as we release multiple NFL-related videos every Tuesday and Friday all year long. Now, let's get back to the video. Quickly, before we get to the list, though, we are only going to be talking about quarterbacks today because they are the only ones that realistically have the opportunity to win the award. In 2023, if a non-quarterback didn't win the award, then it's not going to happen, so we're only talking quarterbacks. We're going to start out with the guy with the best odds, Patrick Mahomes at plus 500, and Mahomes makes a ton of sense to have the best odds. He is far and away the best quarterback in the NFL. He has won 2 MVP awards already, along with 3 Super Bowls and 3 Super Bowl MVPs. And so he's absolutely due to win another MVP at some point in his career. And so why not in 2024? In terms of the odds, I think plus 500 is reasonable odds for Patrick Mahomes. It means he's not quite a lock-in favorite in terms of he's going to win the award, but he still has the best odds, which makes some sense. The things working against Mahomes is the fact that Rashee Rice likely won't be around for the majority of the season. Travis Kelce is getting a little bit older and wasn't as effective last year, at least during the regular season. And the Chiefs' offense didn't even look that good for the most part in 2023 with how bad the receiving core was in terms of their options. And so if the same thing happens again for at least a portion of the season in 2023, there's absolutely a world where Patrick Mahomes isn't really in the conversation for MVP. But he's still Patrick Mahomes. He's got to be at the top, so these odds are fair. Second on our list, we got Josh Allen at plus 800 odds, and I love the narrative story for Josh Allen for MVP. The Buffalo Bills jettisoned a huge portion of their roster in cuts during the 2024 offseason, which has left a lot up in the air in terms of how good the Buffalo Bills will be going into 2024. And with a receiving core made up of Khalil Shakir, Chase Claypool, second-round pick Keon Coleman, veteran tight end Dawson Knox, and last year's first-round pick Dalton Kincaid, this is absolutely not a receiving core that is expected to be that great. And so if Josh Allen is able to make them a really good team and a really good offense, he has a fantastic narrative case for winning MVP in 2024. Next up, tied for third with one other player, we have CJ Stroud at plus 1,000. And I know I've been a Texans hater all offseason. I don't actually hate the Texans. I just think they're a little overrated compared to what I've seen on paper. But this is another situation of that. I do not love the fact that CJ Stroud is tied for third in MVP odds at plus 1,000. Yes, CJ Stroud had a very good season in 2023. But that was a season where there wasn't really a runaway great quarterback. CJ Stroud definitely had the benefit of having some bad balls that end up just falling incomplete. And so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to have a massive step up enough to be able to win an MVP award in 2024. Yes, they've added Stephon Diggs, but I don't know how good Stephon Diggs is going to be for the Texans. Remember, the Buffalo Bills were willing to move on for him for not even a current asset. And he wasn't even very good with Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in the latter half of the 2023 season. And so I'm not sure how good he's going to be in 2024. Beyond all that, I think a good thing to talk about is what the history of MVPs have looked like. And so if you go all the way back to 2007, 15 plus years ago, if you look at all the MVPs, excluding Adrian Peterson in 2012, the only non-quarterback to win the award, of those quarterbacks, every single one but one of them were a division winner. That quarterback being Peyton Manning in 2008 with the Indianapolis Colts. As well, all but one of those quarterback MVPs either had the best record in football or were within one game of the best record in football. The lone exception of that being Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons in 2016. And so what you need to do to have a good shot at MVP is be within at least one game of the best record in football and win your division. I don't really see the Houston Texans being within one win of the best record in football when I look at the fact that they were only 10-7 last year. They have a significantly harder schedule in 2024 than they did in 2023. And you still have a ton of really good teams out there like the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Detroit Lions, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Eagles, etc., etc., etc. And so I just don't see a world where the Texans meet those criteria. And so having CJ Stroud this high of odds, I just don't love it. Our other player tied for third is Joe Burrow, and I much prefer Joe Burrow at plus 1,000 odds and being the third rated guy in terms of MVP odds. Joe Burrow had a down season in 2023, primarily due to injuries and then obviously missing the latter half of the season with a different injury. But if you go back to his 2022 campaign, his 2021 campaign, etc., Joe Burrow has been nothing less than a stud in the NFL since the second he entered the league. And so with the offense that the Cincinnati Bengals have in place, still having T. Higgins, assuming he doesn't hold out, as well as Jamar Chase, and having Zach Moss at running back instead of Joe Mixon, not being a massive downgrade, especially seeing how Zach Moss played in 2023 with the Indianapolis Colts. And the Cincinnati Bengals absolutely have a very good team on paper. They have a fairly easy schedule if you look at their matchups. Feel free to go back to my video on the NFL schedule where I talk about how the Cincinnati Bengals actually have a surprisingly easy schedule in 2024. And so you take that all into account, and the Cincinnati Bengals could absolutely be one of the best teams in the league. Joe Burrow could absolutely put up some stellar stats, and he could win MVP. The only thing working against Burrow is the fact that not only in 2023, but also in 2022, he had a bit of slow starts to his season. And so if he has another slow start in 2024, that's going to really impact his ability to win the MVP award. But I expect he's a good enough professional. He's going to not always have a slow start to his seasons. And if he doesn't, he should absolutely be in there for the MVP award. Moving on to number 5, we have 3 guys tied for 5th. And we're going to start with defending MVP and 2-time NFL MVP Lamar Jackson at plus 1,400 odds. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback who can be a threat to win MVP every single season he's in the NFL, because he's on a phenomenal team in the Baltimore Ravens who can absolutely have one of the best records in the NFL year in and year out. He has the ability to throw the ball very effectively, as well as being the best running quarterback in the NFL. And he has a defense that's going to be really good and give him good field position constantly to put up a lot of touchdowns. He has everything a quarterback could want going for him in terms of winning the MVP. And it's a big reason why he won the MVP in 2023, where there wasn't really a clear runaway MVP winner until Lamar Jackson kind of just took it, with the Ravens being really good last year. I think Lamar Jackson's 2023 MVP season pales in comparison to his 2019 MVP season, but that just shows that there's a lot of room for Lamar Jackson to be even better than he was in 2023. And so he could absolutely go and win another MVP. The thing working against Lamar Jackson is that narratively, I think that if he's even in at all a close race, he's not winning the MVP award. And that's because he would be one of the very few players to win a third MVP were he to do it. The only players to ever win 3 MVPs in the NFL are Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Jim Brown, and Johnny Unitas, with Brown and Unitas doing it prior to the AFL-NFL merger. And so adding Lamar Jackson to that list, I think Lamar Jackson is a phenomenal quarterback, but I don't think he's of the caliber of player that can go and win a third MVP. And so I think the voters will do everything they can to prevent him from winning that third MVP, unless he's a runaway candidate and has to be the winner. Our second player tied for 5th is Jordan Love, and Jordan Love had a phenomenal back end to his first season as a starter in 2023, including his 2 playoff performances, which were very good, but this is too high for Jordan Love. We have half a season to base for Jordan Love being tied for 5th with defending MVP and 2-time MVP winner Lamar Jackson. That's crazy. Yes, Jordan Love had a good second half to last season. Yes, he has some really exciting young players. He has a good offensive-minded head coach, and he definitely has the ability to sling the football around the field and will have a lot of opportunity to throw the football, especially given the defense is fairly mid in Green Bay. But that is not a good enough reason to put him at plus 1,400. I think this is one of the most overinflated MVP odds out there. Don't bet it. If you do, you'll regret it. That's all. Our final player tied for 5th at plus 1,400 odds is Jalen Hurts. And if you look at his 2023 season, he has no business being this high in terms of MVP odds. But remember, in 2022, he led the Eagles to a 14-3 record, where he didn't play in 2 of those losses, and barely lost out to Patrick Mahomes Mahomes in the MVP race. Jalen Hurts can absolutely be an MVP candidate if things break right for him in a given season. Looking at the Eagles' 2022 season, a lot of that offense is still in-house. Yes, Jason Kelce retired in the offseason. But outside of that, you still have Devontae Smith, you still have A.J. Brown, you still have Dallas Goedert, you still have the rest of the offensive line, and you've added Saquon Barkley to improve the running game over what they had this past season in DeAndre Swift and in 2022 with Miles Sanders. And so take that all into account, and the Eagles offense still has the same capability they had in 2022. A big reason for their fall off in 2023 was the fact that offensive coordinator from the 2022 season, Shane Steichen, left to take the Indianapolis Colts head coaching job. And the offensive coordinator just wasn't that good in 2023. But the Eagles have added Kellen Moore, who has been a very effective offensive coordinator and coordinated some really good offenses in the NFL in his time as an offensive coordinator. And so if he's able to return the Philadelphia Eagles to being a very effective offense in 2024, Jalen Hurts could absolutely be an MVP candidate again. Given the not knowing of what's going to happen in terms of that, I think the odds are fair. I don't think these odds are overly high or overly low. I think they're very reasonable odds for Jalen Hurts, and so better if you want to. All alone at number 8, we have Brock Purdy at plus 1,600 odds, and I'm going to give it away right away. This is my MVP pick for 2024. Now, I'm not saying I think Brock Purdy is the most likely MVP candidate. I would take a lot of the guys above Brock Purdy on this list over him in terms of their MVP candidacy. That being said, Brock Purdy is my favorite guy in terms of the odds that he's paying out to win MVP. Again, remember what I was saying earlier about what a team needs to do to help a quarterback win MVP. They need to be division champions. I think the 49ers are presumptive favorites to win the division. And they need to be within one game of the best record in football. I think the 49ers could absolutely be one of the best teams in football, especially given they didn't lose that much going into the 2024 season. And remember, there was a time in the 2023 season where Brock Purdy was the MVP frontrunner because of how good the 49ers were and how good of a game manager he was within the system. Yes, Brock Purdy's numbers are not going to blow you away. But if the 49ers put together a 14, 15, 16, heck, even 17-win season, and Brock Purdy puts up a very efficient season at that, he could absolutely win MVP. And at plus 1,600 odds, I really like these compared to some other guys. Rounding out our top 10, we have two guys tied for 9th, and we're going to start with Dak Prescott at plus 2,000. Dak Prescott had a really good portion of the 2023 season where he was absolutely gunslinging. Mike McCarthy seems to just love putting up points no matter what. No matter how far the Cowboys are up, they're still going for it. They're still trying to put more points on the board. And beyond that, the Cowboys got rid of Tony Pollard and now have, Rico Dowdle as their top running back going into the 2024 season, which means Dak Prescott is going to be asked to do a lot for this Cowboys offense that is still fairly good and still has CeeDee Lamb to catch the ball. Now, if you ask me, do I love Dak Prescott for MVP? Absolutely not. But when you look at all the quarterbacks we've already talked about, all the clear favorites being off the board, Dak Prescott at plus 2,000 is not terrible odds. I think this is a take it or leave it guy. It's kind of meh. And our final guy in the top 10 is Justin Herbert, tied for 9th at plus 2,000. And Justin Herbert lost a lot of weapons in the offseason. Austin Eckler's gone. Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams is gone. This was the core of the Los Angeles Chargers receiving group for the past nearly half decade. And so losing all those guys, it's the Justin Herbert show now in Los Angeles. Now, it's going to be questionable how good the Chargers will be. I don't expect the Chargers to be very good in the 2024 season. But given the guys that Justin Herbert is throwing to is a second-round wide receiver, an absolute bust in Quentin Johnson, and a journeyman guy like Josh Palmer, if the Chargers exceed expectations and compete with the Chiefs for that division title, unlikely, I know, but plausible, then Justin Herbert will absolutely be in the MVP conversation because all the success the Chargers have in 2024 will be given to Herbert, given the lack of a receiving core that this team has in tow going into 2024. That's it for the top 10 quarterback odds, but I wanted to go through some dark horse candidates as well. Starting out with Anthony Richardson at plus 3,000. Anthony Richardson has a lot going for him in terms of the MVP conversation, and so paying out at plus 3,000 is pretty good odds if you're looking for a low risk, high reward guy. First of all, Anthony Richardson is a running and passing quarterback, which means similar to Lamar Jackson, he can get the MVP by being effective in two aspects of the game. Yes, we haven't totally seen Anthony Richardson as a passer at the NFL level, especially given the fact that he barely played in his rookie season in 2023. But that being said, Anthony Richardson is still a guy who could come out and be a really good quarterback in 2024. And the other thing Anthony Richardson has going for him is that Shane Steichen is his head coach. Remember, Steichen was the offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts when he nearly won MVP in 2022, playing a somewhat similar style of football to what Anthony Richardson will be expected to play. As well, in 2023, the Colts had one of the best offenses in the NFL, with Gardner Minshew being the primary quarterback. I love Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew is nothing more than a decent backup in the NFL in reality. And so Anthony Richardson, if he's able to be successful at the NFL level, could absolutely put together a phenomenal season and put himself in the MVP conversation. And so plus 3,000 odds, it's a long shot, and he is a long shot, but these odds are good for the type of long shot he is, given the narrative going towards him. And my second dark horse is Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions. And yes, I know I'm a Lions fan, but this is not to do with me being a Lions fan. Just hear me out. First off, plus 3,500 odds is insane value for anybody who's an effective quarterback in the NFL. The guys that come after Jared Goff are Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Caleb Williams, and Deshaun Watson in terms of their odds. None of those guys do I really think are competing at all for MVP, at least anywhere close to the level that Jared Goff could be. Remember, there was a period of time in 2023 where there was actually conversation about if Jared Goff deserved some MVP consideration. The key factor of the Jared Goff MVP case is the fact that Jared Goff is on a really good Detroit Lions team. Remember, the two factors that almost every MVP winning quarterback has from their team is that they're within one game of the best record in football. Last year, the Ravens had 13 wins. The Lions had 12. This year, the highest over-under for wins is 11.5. The Lions are 10.5. So the Lions should be able to be within one win of the best record in football. And in terms of division champions, the Lions are favored to win the division in 2024 and won the division pretty soundly in 2023, which means that Jared Goff's team puts him in a position to win MVP. And if you look at all the other division frontrunners, with the exception of the NFC South, every single other division frontrunner's quarterback was in the top 8 of MVP odds. And the NFC South is far and away the worst division in football, so we shouldn't even count that. All told, I don't think Jared Goff is going to set the world on fire, which is why his odds are so long shot. But Jared Goff can be a very effective and efficient quarterback for a team that could put up a very good record in 2024. And if some things break right for Goff and the Lions, he could find himself in the MVP conversation, which is really good value for a guy paying out plus 3,500. That's it for our analysis on 2024 MVP candidates. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like down below and comment if you like this type of video and want to see more analysis on betting props. Either way, I'll see you all next time. Peace!